As the price of all vehicles continue to rise, EVs aren't as expensive as they used to be compared to normal gasoline cars. And despite price parity becoming a reality, people are still not that interested in EVs. Over at Automotive News, EVs get near gas cars on cost, but that clears just one hurdle. If you're new to the channel, this is Kirky Cars, dedicated to electrified vehicles. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon for updated industry news when it comes to anything electrified on four wheels. So this information is coming from JD Power EV Index, and this graph here shares a lot. So let's break it down. So these are the 6 biggest factors affecting the transition to electric vehicles. A score of 100 represents parity with internal combustion engine vehicles. And here are the scores below, and this is from this past October. Interest is only 1/3 or even less than 1/3 of what it would be for a gas car. Availability, right? They're just, even though the options are growing, the availability of EVs isn't as high as the plethora of options and almost endless amount of options for gas cars. Adoption, 22%. They're just not ready to take that jump and plugging in their cars or finding the infrastructure. So that is like the lowest thing here. Now, the affordability, people can afford electric cars. Look, Teslas are selling for 50, 60K. I know the Model 3 is a little bit cheaper right now, but yeah, things are continuing to go up, and that's bringing the cost of EVs and ICE cars closer than ever before. Now, infrastructure is a big issue here. And this is, I mean, let's be real here. The charging infrastructure, unless you're getting a Tesla, is nowhere near what it is versus the gas stations on every single corner, every single rest stop in America. And experience, this is interesting. So a lot of people have experienced an electric car, and they're not worried about the overall experience being so much different, other than maybe the convenience with the infrastructure and the charging, etc. Overall, people are less than half as interested overall to jump into an EV compared to an ICE car. Now, California is investing $2.9 billion tax dollars into 90,000 new chargers across the state. That's hopefully by 2025, but that's just California. The rest of the United States isn't as aggressive when it comes to building out that infrastructure. But at the federal level, last year's $1 trillion infrastructure bill provides $5 billion to help states install chargers along interstate highways over 5 years. Infrastructure here in the United States is a big thing. Let's jump into it a little bit more. As more people buy EVs, it puts greater stress on charging stations, which can be unreliable and often aren't monitored as closely as gasoline pump. More than 20% of EV drivers have been unable to use a public charger because of poor maintenance, software glitches, or equipment damage. As all these EVs over the next few years come onto the grid, are we going to have enough power to supply them? That's the question, and it'll be fun, I guess, to cover it from a news standpoint. And I really hope we don't run into a limitation of energy. The Ford F-150 Lightning, the cheapest model, has gone up 9% to $55,974. The cost of lithium has skyrocketed since 2020. Battery packs have gotten more expensive. So cobalt in those battery packs also is much higher than it was, let's say in 2015, for example. And you also have nickel getting really expensive. Not quite as bad as where it peaked in 2021, but it's back on the rise again. Now, if we go to this article, Reuters, Ford is thinking about working with CATL and building a U.S. battery plant, and they want to sidestep the cobalt and the nickel issues so they can have cheaper battery packs, and they would be using lithium iron phosphate or the LFP batteries. But China and US are kind of in a shaky situation right now, but I'm almost positive this deal will go through, and CATL will be building batteries inside of a Ford facility. And that's not going to be that far from now, maybe 2024, 2025. Speaking of large, heavy electric vehicles, moving from the Lightning to the EQG. First ride. Inside EVs had a first ride of this vehicle. 4 electric motors, so kind of like a Rivian, you have 1 motor for each wheel, 4 transfer cases, and a substantial battery to improve the G-Class's abilities. Well, in some ways it will, sometimes some ways it won't. This thing is going to weigh 6,600 pounds. Holy smokes. Despite that, it'll still get over 310 miles of range, 10 to 80% in a charge in around 30 minutes. on a 350 kilowatt charger. I can't even imagine what an electric G-Wagon would cost. What do you guys think? 200 minimum, 250? I can't even imagine, but it would be freaking badass. They're expecting an output of at least 600 horsepower out of those 4 motors and combined. Now it can also do a tank turn, so it can turn in place. There's also a hidden button, well, not a hidden button, but a closed off button on the interior. So maybe it can do like a crab walk as well. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd love to have the Mercedes electrifying options on the channel. I've reached out to Mercedes, fingers crossed to get back to me. I've already have BMW, Audi, and Porsche, Stellantis, and Ford as well that I've spoken with to bring vehicles onto this channel. And if I get some gasoline options, I'd feature them for review on the main channel. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Definitely stay tuned for more industry auto news when it comes to EVs. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.